What if the moment you thought it was all falling apart was the very moment life was preparing to put it all together? What if the betrayal, the rejection, the failure weren't signs of your weakness, but rather invitations to discover your strength? You see, life doesn't whisper softly when it's time to rise. It roars. It tears. It strips you down until all the illusions you once clung to can no longer protect you. And when you're standing there exposed, broken, beaten by circumstances you never asked for, that's when the truth shows up. Because the truth doesn't visit the comfortable. It seeks the courageous. And I ask you now, are you willing to become the kind of person who looks at devastation and sees the beginning of destiny? Because history doesn't remember the people who avoided the storm. It remembers the ones who walked into it and came out changed. Mindset isn't a soft word. It is not a self-help buzzword tossed into books and seminars to make you feel temporarily inspired. Mindset is war. It's the battlefield between who you've been and who you must become. There's a reason why Thomas Edison failed over 0 times before lighting the world. Why Henry Ford was laughed out of every bank when he asked for funding. Why Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job because they said he lacked imagination. These men weren't gifted with certainty. They were armed with mindset, the kind that says, no matter how many times I get knocked down, I will rise again. They understood that the mind must be trained like a warrior, not coddled like a victim. And if you want to bend reality to your will, you must first master the voice in your own head. Because here's the truth. Your external world will never exceed the limits of your internal one. Before you can build a life, you must believe you are worthy of one. Not when things are perfect. Not when you've earned it. But right now, in the chaos, in the silence, in the mess, belief is the soil where all possibility is born. It's the invisible force that turns thoughts into empires, sparks into revolutions, dreams into legacies. Andrew Carnegie didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask the world if it was okay for a poor immigrant boy to rise to the top. He believed, and that belief shaped steel and shaped a nation. How many people have buried their purpose beneath layers of doubt? How many gifts have gone unopened simply because someone was afraid to believe they had something to give? If you're going to walk the road of greatness, you must become unreasonable with your belief. Not logical, not cautious, unreasonable. Because belief isn't based on what is, it's based on what could be. But belief without clarity is chaos in disguise. A missile without a target. An ocean without a compass. Clarity isn't just about setting goals. It's about knowing exactly who you are and, even more importantly, who you refuse to be. Too many people live on autopilot. They wake up, follow someone else's plan, chase someone else's dream, and then wonder why they feel empty. But clarity is rebellion. It's the act of silencing the noise, killing the distractions, and declaring with conviction, this is my life, this is my path, and I will not be moved. Do you know what happens when you get clear? You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop entertaining things that no longer serve you. You stop showing up as a watered-down version of yourself just to keep the peace. And in that clarity, your decisions get sharper, your time gets sacred, and your energy becomes unstoppable. Clarity gives birth to vision. And vision is divine. It is the ability to see what isn't yet real and act as if it already is. It is the same fire that burned in the heart of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when he said, I have a dream. The same fire that guided Elon Musk to bet everything on a rocket that exploded and still keep building. Vision is not a luxury of the lucky. It's a discipline of the daring. Can you see yourself beyond this season of struggle? Can you look past the pain of the now and envision a future worth fighting for? If your answer is yes, then your setbacks are not your end. They are your edge, your advantage, your teacher, and perhaps your greatest gift, because vision gives you the courage to walk through what others run from. But vision without purpose will fade when the storm comes. And the storm always comes. Purpose is your anchor. It is not something you find, it is something you remember. It's the whisper you heard as a child before the world told you to be realistic. It's the ache in your soul that won't let you settle. It's the fire that refuses to die even when everything else has gone cold. People say they don't know what their purpose is, but more often they're afraid to claim it because purpose demands something sacred from you, commitment. It doesn't ask if you feel like it. It doesn't care if the timing is right. It just says, are you ready? Because once you awaken to your purpose, you can never go back to sleep. It becomes the force that moves your feet when motivation disappears. It's what makes the broke man build, the tired mother rise, the broken soul stand tall again. Purpose turns your setback into assignment, your wound into wisdom, your scar into story. But even purpose will mean nothing if you lack discipline, because purpose without discipline is just potential, and potential unused is the saddest story ever written. Discipline is the grind behind the glory. It's what kept Kobe Bryant in the gym at 4 a.m., what kept Da Vinci sketching anatomy while others slept, what kept Nelson Mandela's spirit intact through 27 years in prison. Discipline is love in action. It says, I love my vision enough to suffer for it. I love my future enough to delay the comfort of now. You think freedom is doing whatever you want? No. Freedom is earned by doing what's necessary, especially when it's hard. You must fall in love with the process, because results only come to those who show up when it's boring, when it's painful, when it's thankless. That's the truth. They don't sell in highlight reels and motivational montages. But that's where greatness is born, in the dark, in the silence, in the repetition. Discipline leads to action, and action is the only language the universe understands. You can dream, you can plan, you can meditate, you can journal, but nothing will move until you do. It is easy to stay in your head, to wait for the perfect moment, to gather more information, build more certainty, ask for more signs. But action doesn't wait for alignment, it creates it. Think of the Wright brothers, two bicycle mechanics who decided the laws of gravity could be rewritten. They didn't wait for a blueprint to fall from the sky. They failed and failed and failed again until one day they flew, because action is sacred. It is where ideas are baptized in struggle, where the invisible becomes tangible, where the dream finally breathes. And you must stop worshiping perfection, because the longer you wait to take action, the more you convince yourself that you can't. Small steps, consistent motion, that's the rhythm of transformation. If you don't act now, fear will plant roots. But if you do, if you move, even trembling, the fear begins to burn away. Do not let your thoughts rot in the waiting room of indecision. If your soul gave you the dream, then your body must carry it forward. Move. And as you move, let me tell you something most people miss on their journey to success. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is power. Gratitude is not just being thankful when things go right. It's thanking the pain too. Thanking the delay. Thanking the heartbreak, the dead ends, the detours, because every single one shaped the warrior you are becoming. It is gratitude that turns survival into significance. That turns obstacles into offerings. That rewires the brain to see opportunity even in chaos. Do you think Nelson Mandela wasted his prison years in bitterness? No, he emerged with a heart full of purpose and forgiveness. That's what gratitude does. It expands your capacity. It reminds you that even in the storm, you still have breath. And as long as you're breathing, you are not done. Every morning you rise is a vote of confidence from the universe. A new page in the story you haven't finished writing. Stop focusing on what you lack and start standing in what you have. Because what you water grows. And gratitude is the water of champions. But what happens when the plan no longer works? When the map catches fire, the goalpost moves, and everything you built begins to crack? That's when adaptability becomes your superpower. You must not be married to your method, only to your mission. Too many people cling to how things were supposed to go, instead of surrendering to what's trying to emerge now. Think of Darwin. He never said the strongest survive. He said the most adaptable do. Success isn't found in rigidity. It's found in those who pivot without panic, in those who can dance with the unknown and say, okay, let's begin again. Be like water. When a river meets a rock, it doesn't break. It flows around it. It finds a new way forward. The world is moving faster than ever. Technology, economies, culture shifting beneath our feet. So don't anchor your worth in titles or comfort zones. Instead, become the kind of person who can evolve without losing their essence, because your ability to reinvent again and again will define the size of the life you live. And when the punches keep coming, because they will, you will need more than talent. You will need resilience. Resilience is not pretending you're fine. It's standing up when your bones ache, when your soul is tired, when the people you thought would stay don't. It's waking up after disappointment, dragging yourself forward when your hope feels like it's running on fumes. Resilience is Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat. It's Frederick Douglass teaching himself to read in secret. It's Malala Yousafzai walking back into the classroom after being shot for doing just that. This isn't about toxic positivity. This is about refusing to let what happened to you become who you are. Yes, life will try to break you. Yes, some days you'll want to disappear. But remember this. Your story is not over. Your heartbeat is your protest. Your breath is your rebellion. Every scar you carry is a page in the manual someone else will one day read to survive. So get up. Not because it's easy, but because the next chapter depends on it. And if you're willing to rise, then promise me one more thing. Never stop learning. Because the moment you believe you know it all is the moment your growth dies. Pride kills empires long before failure does. Stay teachable. Learn from your mentors, your mistakes, your enemies, your children. Life has no shortage of teachers, only students too arrogant to listen. Abraham Lincoln built his greatness not just on bold action, but on relentless self-education. Books by candlelight, debates in taverns, listening, always listening. Learning is not for the weak, it is for the wise, because those who learn adapt. Those who adapt overcome, and those who overcome rise. So be obsessed with growth. Be ruthless about feedback. Be addicted to progress. If you want to lead, serve, build, and transform, then every room becomes a classroom. Every failure, a professor. Every conversation, a textbook. The strongest people in the world are the ones humble enough to remain students. There's a force deeper than motivation, stronger than discipline, more enduring than confidence. And that force is faith, not religious doctrine, but the unshakable knowing that something greater is guiding you even when you can't see it. Faith is what carried Harriet Tubman through pitch-black woods with a bounty on her head, leading others to freedom by intuition alone. Faith is what kept Oprah Winfrey showing up after rejection, abuse, humiliation, believing she had a voice the world needed to hear. Faith is not naive. It's not fragile. It is forged in fire, in the silence after a door closes, in the pause after a dream dies, in the space where logic ends and conviction begins. You must stop asking, will this work? And start declaring, I will make this work, because faith isn't about evidence. It's about alignment. You don't need proof before you start. You need belief that carries you while you build the proof brick by brick. Doubt looks for exit signs. Faith builds doorways where walls once stood. But even faith must be escorted by courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's mastery over it. It is staring down the thing that wants to destroy you and saying, "You're not stronger than me." Fear will always whisper. It will whisper, "You're not ready. You're too late. You're too small. You're too damaged." And courage will answer, "Watch me." It was courage that made Gandhi stand against an empire. That made Amelia Earhart fly solo into skies no woman dared. That makes every person from unknown beginnings step into arenas where giants fall. You don't need to feel brave to act brave. You just need to stop feeding your fear more than your future. Fear grows when you obey it. Courage grows when you confront it. Do it afraid. Do it trembling. Do it raw. But do it, because on the other side of that fear is everything you were born to become. And let us not forget, greatness is not inherited. It's chosen over and over again, in silence, in tension, in the million little moments where no one's watching. Your life is built on the back of your decisions, not your conditions, not your upbringing, not your resources, but your decisions. Abraham Lincoln decided to keep going after every election loss. J.K. Rowling decided to submit her manuscript for the 7th time after 6 rejections. Steve Jobs decided that mediocrity was never an option, not for Apple and not for himself. One decision can alter the trajectory of your life. But indecision, that's a thief in disguise. Every time you delay, hesitate, avoid, you are voting against your own potential. You are saying, "I trust my fear more than I trust my future." But today you can decide differently. You can decide that comfort will no longer be your God, that regret will not be your inheritance, that you are the author of this story and you are rewriting the ending. Decide and then move, because nothing changes until you do. And once you've decided, you must raise your standards, because the world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are willing to tolerate. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll get more of it. If you tolerate delay, distraction, and disarray, your results will reflect exactly that. But when you raise your standards, everything changes. Muhammad Ali didn't train like others. He didn't think like others. He said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." That is standards. Standards are sacred boundaries between who you were and who you must become. They are the invisible contracts you sign with your future self. I don't skip the work. I don't show up late to my purpose. I don't let yesterday's wounds write tomorrow's script. You want to change your life? Change what you allow. Change what you accept. Change what you expect from yourself. Because the fastest way to raise the quality of your life is to raise the quality of what you demand from it. There is a truth so powerful, most people run from it their entire lives. You will never rise higher than the identity you hold for yourself. Identity is the ceiling. It is the hidden thermostat regulating every result in your life. You can train harder. You can plan smarter. You can dream bigger. But if deep down you still see yourself as unworthy, small, broken, forgotten, then every time you start to rise, you will self-destruct back to the level where your identity feels safe. This is why people sabotage relationships, wealth, careers, and freedom. Not because they don't want them, but because they don't believe they're allowed to have them. So the real work, the eternal work, is not to chase something outside you. It's to become someone new within you. When you shift your identity, your standards shift, your beliefs shift, your relationships shift, your results explode. Why? Because your outer world will always mirror the person you believe yourself to be. You must ask, who do I need to become in order to receive the life I desire? And then become that person today. Before the success, before the validation, before the applause. Identity is not a reward. It is a decision. But even with the strongest identity, you must defend it, because nothing threatens growth more than a toxic environment. Look around you. The people, the places, the habits, the screens, the voices, they are shaping you whether you notice or not. You can have a lion's heart, but if you're trapped in a cage with sheep, you'll forget how to roar. Environment is not just physical. It's emotional. It's digital. It's spiritual. You must protect your energy like it's sacred ground, because it is. Do you think high performers waste time arguing with small minds? Do you think visionaries build their future surrounded by complainers and comfort seekers? No. They curate their environment. Like an artist selects his tools. Like a warrior sharpens her blade. You are not obligated to stay loyal to the version of you that others are comfortable with. If the people around you don't stretch you, challenge you, elevate you, you are not in a circle. You are in a cage. Build an environment that reflects your future, not your past, because no seed thrives in poison soil, and no dream survives in the presence of chronic doubt. But let's go even deeper, because beneath all the systems and strategies and morning routines lies something unshakable, your inner power. It is not granted by credentials. It is not assigned by followers or bank accounts or job titles. It is the voice that doesn't need to shout, the presence that doesn't need permission, the storm within you that doesn't flinch even when the world tries to tame it. Inner power is what Malcolm X carried when he walked into rooms where he was never supposed to speak. It's what Maya Angelou wrote with. It's what made Bruce Lee more than a fighter. It made him a force. This isn't about arrogance. This is about alignment with your truth, with your essence, with your fire. You were not born for permission. You were not made for mediocrity. You were not shaped in the dark just to blend into the light. And when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you stop waiting for someone to anoint you as ready, when you stop shrinking to make others comfortable, that's when your power returns. Not the power to control the world, but to control yourself. And that power, it's unstoppable. There is a prison more subtle than bars, more paralyzing than failure, more suffocating than loss. And that is the fear of what others might think. How many dreams have been buried in shallow graves marked by silence? Not because they weren't good enough, but because the person holding them was afraid to be seen, afraid to be misunderstood, afraid to be mocked, afraid to be called too much or too ambitious or not realistic. But tell me, since when did other people's opinions become the compass for your destiny? No empire was ever built in the comfort zone of consensus. No trailblazer ever looked over their shoulder for approval. No legend ever bowed to the insecure whispers of people who gave up on their own dreams. You think they didn't laugh at Tesla? At Jobs? At Martin Luther King Jr.? Of course they did. But the difference is those men didn't shrink. You must get to a place where your desire to live truthfully is stronger than your fear of being judged. Because the moment you let their voices dictate your value, you've surrendered your soul to a jury that never even earned the right to sit in the room. They don't know what you've survived. They don't see the battles you fight in silence. They don't carry the calling that keeps you awake at night. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to be undeniable. And if you've already fallen, if the world has already stripped you of titles, platforms, relationships, identity, good. Because now you are in sacred territory. The territory of rebirth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is the forge where all greatness is refined. There is no phoenix without fire. There is no resurrection without the death of what was. Look at history. Every true icon has fallen. Steve Jobs was exiled from the very company he founded. Nelson Mandela was labeled a terrorist before he was celebrated as a peacemaker. Jesus was crucified before he was worshipped. You are not exempt. You will be broken, humiliated, misunderstood. Good, because it means you are on the path. You must understand, failure is not failure unless you stop rising. It is feedback. It is divine redirection. It is the collapsing of false identities that no longer serve you. Don't resent your collapse. Rebuild from it. Wiser, sharper, untouchable. Because rebirth isn't a return, it's a reinvention. And at the center of this journey is fire. Not the fire of hype, not the fleeting blaze of motivation that fades with the sunrise. No, this fire is different. It is ancient. It is sacred. It is the fire that whispered to you as a child before the world told you to quiet down. It is the fire that survives when your hope doesn't. It is the fire that refuses to die even when you want to give up. You don't light this fire. You remember it. You reconnect with it in the silence, in the hunger, in the ache to become who you know you are, even if no one else can see it yet. This fire, it does not beg for recognition. It does not wait for applause. It does not waver when things go dark. It simply burns. And the more you feed it with truth, with discipline, with belief, the more unstoppable you become. You will not need to announce your arrival. You will not need to defend your worth. You will become the proof. Because when you are on fire, the world cannot help but take notice. At the heart of it all lies one sacred bond, the relationship that will determine everything. Not with the world, not with your parents, not even with your purpose, but with yourself. Because you can fool the crowd, you can charm your boss, you can post filtered victories for hollow applause, but you can never escape the mirror. And when it's all stripped away, the titles, the followers, the goals, the noise, what remains is whether you trust yourself enough to keep going. Self-trust is the foundation of all power. It's not just believing in yourself. It's proving through action that you are someone worth believing in. Do you keep your word to yourself? Do you rise when it's easier to retreat? Do you show up when no one else is watching? Because the greatest betrayal is not when others stop believing in you. It's when you stop believing in you. You must build that trust again, brick by brick, promise by promise, battle by battle. Because when you trust yourself, you become unshakable. And when you become unshakable, you stop waiting for the world to save you and you save yourself. And now we arrive at the edge, the place where all your pain, all your setbacks, all your silence and suffering were never accidents. They were part of the alchemy, the sacred preparation for what you were always meant to become. Your destiny was never canceled, only delayed until you were strong enough to carry it. And maybe that's why the detours hurt so much, why the failures felt personal, why the nights were darker than they had to be. Because the bigger the assignment, the deeper the preparation. You were being stretched, forged, tempered like steel in the heat of disappointment. Every no was a redirection. Every fall was building your foundation. Every delay was building your character. And now you are ready. You are ready to stop chasing your potential and start living it. You are ready to stop replaying your past and start redefining your future. You are ready to claim your identity, not as a victim of life, but as the architect of destiny. You were not born to tiptoe. You were born to shake the ground you walk on. You were not made to adapt to life. You were made to transform it. And all this time, you've been waiting for a break, a miracle, a sign from the skies. But let me tell you something no one else will. You are the storm. You are the break in the system. You are the anomaly. You are the answer to prayers you didn't know you were chosen to fulfill. Stop waiting to be ready. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel pulled, dragged, summoned, by a future so wild, so powerful, so aligned, that your past begins to tremble at the sound of your footsteps. You are not here to survive. You are here to reign over your mind, over your emotions, over your reality. And when life throws its worst at you, you will not ask, why me? You will whisper, try me. So now we return to the question, could your greatest setbacks be your greatest opportunities? Look back at everything you thought would break you. You're still here, not just breathing, but becoming. You are no longer the same. The pain sharpened you. The silence awakened you. The loss unburied your purpose. And from this moment on, you walk differently. You speak differently. You show up as if you belong, because you do. No more shrinking. No more apologizing. No more editing your light to fit inside someone else's comfort. You are the exception. You are the evidence that setbacks do not bury us, they build us. That pain is not punishment, it's preparation. That destiny is not found, it's forged. So rise, not as the version of you they remember, but as the version they never saw coming. This is your time. This is your chapter. This is your return. And this time, you're not hoping. You're not asking. You're not waiting. You're claiming what's already yours.